Alright, so this section is going to be over converting between vertex and standard form. Okay, so on the last day we were together, we went over vertex form, right? Who remembers what vertex form looks like? Y equals
Got A minus
A
times X or something minus X.
X minus H squared plus K. Okay, and we love vertex form because it's really easy. You can pull the vertex out literally as the H and the K values. Okay, today we're going to introduce standard form. Okay, because it's not always written in our nice perfect form. Most of the time, functions are written in standard form. Does anybody happen to know the standard form of a quadratic? I'll give you a hint. It starts with y equals.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll tell you. A x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so tell me things that you notice about this form. Okay, there's three terms. Two of the terms have an x in them, right? Okay, so notice that the standard form starts with the biggest exponent, x squared. Then after that it goes to the x, the linear term, and then last is always written the constant, the smallest. Okay, so this piece right here is our quadratic term. This piece right here is the linear term. No, I'll collect it after this. And the last little piece is called the constant. Okay, so notice the quadratic term, the a value is in front of the x squared, the b value is in front of the x, and the c is just the constant value. Everybody good there? Okay. So firstly, what they're going to kind of do is they're going to, I'm going to go down through a little bit. Actually, I'm going to just make up a question real quick. Okay, so let's say they give you something like this and say, write this in standard form. Okay, how could I rewrite this so that it was written correctly and it should be ordered in the correct manner? What would I rewrite that as? So negative x squared plus 4x minus 5. Okay, so this is my quadratic term. By the way, what's the a value on this? -1. So my a value is equal to -1. Here's my linear term. What's the b value? 4. Okay, here's my constant. What's my c value? -5. Everybody good with that? Just identifying each little piece. Good, good? Okay. All right, so when we are working in standard form, okay, this is what you just wrote down, right? ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, we want to be able to come up with the vertex immediately. Okay, this piece right here that's written is giving us the vertex. Okay, so this is really an important thing. It doesn't really look super clear right here, so I'm going to try to make that seem more clear to you. Okay, so we've identified the vertex as being the h and the k, right, out of vertex form. So I said the h is going to be the x value of the vertex, the k is the y value of the vertex. Okay, so by definition, when you're in standard form, the h is simply found by doing -b over 2a. Okay, This right here is incredibly important, and you will see it over and over and over again. Okay, so write that in your notes, star it, get your highlighter out and highlight it. Whatever you need to do to make it really obvious to find when you're going through your notes. Okay, that's the h value of the vertex. So to find the k value of the vertex, all you're going to do is you're going to take your function, your original function, and plug the h value into it. Okay, so notice that I've used the function notation that just says plug h into my function. Okay. Everybody good? Ready for an example? Sort of, kind of, maybe not.
Wait, what's that?
F is just a notation for y, so usually you see y equals. Well, f of x means I have a function that's in terms of x. It gives me more information than y. So if I say find f of h, that means you're going to plug h into the x value. Okay? All right. So I'm going to go scroll down just a little bit and do question number 1 and question number 2. Okay? For starters, question number 1, what form is this written in? It's in standard, okay? So if I'm going to take something and I'm going to graph a quadratic equation, what do I want in order to do that? I need the vertex. Okay, so I'm going to use my little formula that I just wrote down and say, okay, I can find the h. What was the formula again? Over 2a. Okay, so looking at my standard form, what is the negative b value? Negative 8. So I have negative 8 over 2 times, what's my a value? Negative 2. Okay, so I can simplify that. That gives me negative 8 over negative 4, which reduces to 2. Okay, so that means my h value of my vertex is at 2. All right, that's good. Now, how do I find the k? I could sing a song. It's actually a commercial, I guess. Plug it in, plug it in. Plug it in. Yeah, right? Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to plug it into the x of that function up there. Okay, so I'm going to take negative 2, and every time I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 2. Okay, now when I put something into a function, like the 2, notice what I used. I used parentheses. Okay, get into the habit of always using parentheses when you plug stuff in. Because if there are negatives involved and you don't use parentheses, I can almost guarantee that you're going to make a mistake. Okay. The negative b, so the value in front of the x is 8. So it's just negative 8 because it's negative b. Okay, so simplify this. I have to do exponents first, so it's 2 squared. 4, and then I have a negative 2 in front of it, so what's 4 times negative 2? Negative 8. And then I have plus, let's see, 8 times 2 is 16 minus 11. So it's negative 8 plus 16.
16. 8.
Let's go with 8. And 8 minus 11, negative 3. So the vertex that I just found, FYI, is 2, negative 3. Okay. So I'm going to just quickly add a quick little detail on this. I know it's not asking me to do this, but I'm just going to do this so that I can kind of cover 1 or 2 different questions with one example. What's the equation for my vertex form? Okay, so remember vertex form goes y is equal to a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. If I have the vertex, how's my equation going to go? y equals a. Where's a?
2,
It's -2. This a that's up here, that's in front of the x squared, is the exact same a for the a in the vertex form. They're the same a. So I can just steal it. -2. Okay, what goes from there? X minus what?
2,
X minus 2 squared. And then what's my plus k? -3. Say minus, not negative, because negative implies multiplication. Okay. Okay, so we can graph that real quick like. We know how to graph a vertex. By the way, what's my translation on my vertex form here? What does the -3 do? What direction does that take me? Down. So I go down 3, and what's the -2 on the inside do? To the right 2, which would make sense because my vertex was 2, -3. Okay, and then I'm going to draw my slope, which is -2. So what's my 2 directions I'm going to go? Down 2 and over 1. Down 2 over 1, and I'm going to reflect that and draw a parabola. And not a V, right? Not a V. Parabola. Curvy. That's pretty good, curvy. Everybody good with that?
no.
How do you feel about doing one more? One more? Okay, let's do one more. Let's talk about number 2. Let's see, number 2. Okay, so again, what form is question number 2 written in? Standard form. What's my a value for this question? 1. Everybody see how that a value is 1? It's invisible, but there's an invisible 1 in front of the x squared. What's my b value? -2. What's my c value? 0. Good. All right, so let's find the h of this. H is found by -b over 2a. So what was the b value again? So what's negative b value? +2. Everybody good there? +2. Okay. What's my a value in? Times 1. So that gives me 2 over 2, which makes 1. So I have an h value of 1. All right, how do I find k? Feel free to sing the song if you want. All right, so 1 squared minus 2 times 1. Okay, what's 1 squared? 1, and I have 2 times 1 is 2. So what's 1 minus 2? -1. Okay, so really quickly, what's my vertex form for this? Y equals. What's my a value? 1. 1. X minus 1 squared minus 1. That's a lot of 1's involved. Okay, so if I draw that, what is my -1? What direction does the -1 outside the parentheses do? Down 1. -1 on the inside goes right 1. There's my vertex. My slope is 1, so what's my directions? Up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the left 1, and make a parabola. Oh, that is good. Crystal clear? Maybe a little salty, maybe a little. Good? Do I need to do any more examples? All right, I'm going to go back up and talk about question number 6 and number 7 very swiftly. Okay, question number 6 and number 7 just simply ask you, is this a quadratic or not? So if I look at number 6, is that function a quadratic? Why? Because x is squared, right? Simply because it's squared, that's the biggest exponent, Yes, that is a quadratic function. Okay, what about number 7? No, why not? There's no x squareds, right? There's nothing that is squared. Everything is linear in that one. Okay, if you solve for x, it would be a linear function. Okay, FYI for you, remember axis of symmetry? Okay, this axis of symmetry is that the axis of symmetry is the vertical line that goes right through the vertex, right? So if it's a vertical line, the equation must be x equals whatever the h value is, right? Okay, so here is important information for you. It is simply negative b over 2a for the axis of symmetry. It's a very simple idea. They will ask you about the axis of symmetry. Make sure you say x equals. All right, last idea. What do we have left to do? We went from standard to vertex form, so we're gonna now go from from vertex to standard. You ready for this? All right, so here's an example of how you do it. I'm gonna go through this example, number 9. Okay, so in order to take my vertex form and convert it to standard, I have to simplify it, and it is 100% algebra. Okay, so if I was thinking order of operations, what do I have to deal with first? The squared piece. Okay, so if I have x plus 5 squared, you guys see what I'm looking at? This little piece right here. How do I take x plus 5 and square it? What would it be? It would be what? 25x? No. X plus 25. So you're just saying you distribute the x, or the square through. So you square the x and you square the 5. So x squared plus 25. Yeah, no. So everybody understands a square, right? That means two things are being multiplied by each other, right? So really that piece says x times that, x plus 5 times x plus 5. There's two of those quantities together. Okay, so how do you multiply binomials? Binomial meaning two terms. There you go. You have to distribute both. You can't just distribute one through, you have to distribute both. Does anybody remember an acronym FOIL? Yeah. FOIL? Okay, so you multiply the firsts, then the outers, then the inners, and then the lasts. So that's what it stands for. Okay, but really all you're doing is you're just distributing. Okay, so we're going to take the x and distribute it through the x plus 5, and then we're going to take the 5 and distribute through the x plus 5. Okay, so we're going to FOIL this. Ready? What's x times x? X squared. What's x times 5? 5x. What's 5 times x? 5x. What's 5 times 5? 25. Okay, I have just successfully FOILed. Okay, so at this point I need to combine like terms. Are there any terms that I can combine? The 5x's, how many x's do I have then? If I have 5 plus 5? 10 x's. Alright, so now you may have noticed that there was this other stuff. There was that times 2 and a plus 3. We can't forget about those. Okay, we still have times 2 and plus 3 outside here. Okay, now what do I have to do with that 2? Distribute it. I must distribute the 2. So what is 2 times x squared? 2x squared. Whoa, uh-oh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 2 times x squared was 2x squared. What's 2 times 10x? 20x. What's 2 times 25? 50. And then I still have that plus 3. Am I finished?
No.
Almost. I have 2 constants that I can combine. So this is going to become 2x squared plus 20x plus 53. That's a really big number. Hi, thanks. How do we do on that one? Do I need to do another example of that? That one's not bad? Feel more comfortable with that? Okay. All right, so this last little piece is just a real world example. I'm not going to go over it right now. But I'm going to do question number 16 really quickly. Okay. So this one, anytime they ask you to come up with an equation and they start with a vertex, the form you should always start by putting it into is vertex form. Okay, so what is my vertex on this particular parabola? 1, 1. Okay, so I'm going to throw that into my vertex form. Whoa! Oh my gosh. So I have a times x minus 1 squared plus 1 for my vertex. So what's the one piece I'm missing for this equation? Good, the a. Missing the a. Okay, so what I have to do is I'm going to have to use this other point in order to find the a. Okay, so what does a point give to me? 2 coordinates, specifically what variables are involved? An x and a y. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the x and the y into the equation. Remember, f of x is the same as which variable? The y. Okay, so what is the value of the y from that other point? -3. So we're going to go -3 is equal to a. And then what was the x value of that point? 3 minus 1 squared plus 1. Okay, now I have an equation that I can solve for a. What do I need to do first? Do my quadratic piece, right? So we can do this. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 squared? 4. Then what do I have to do algebraically? Minus 1. Got to send it to the other side. So this gives me -4 is equal to a times 4. Last step? Divide by 4. So what's my a value? -1. So therefore my equation is -1 times x minus 1 squared plus 1. Or f of x if you so chose. Awesome? Okay. That ought to do it.